Hey, welcome to Star Wars. Go fuck yourself.
I enjoyed rewatching the last scene when Luke shows up. Um, just Gideon's expression, stuff like that, and how powerful it actually shows Luke has become.
It seemed like the look on his face kind of looked like he knew who it was.
I mean, there's not very many Jedi left.
Wait, the look on whose face?
Gideon's
Gideon.
face, whenever he saw that Luke Skywalker pulled up.
Well, I mean, he's literally legendary, so wouldn't put it past him to be able to recognize who Luke is. I mean, like Brandon said, there's only so many Jedi left.
That's true.
And only so many Jedi who have defeated the Empire and Darth Vader. I mean, a lot of imps saw him dragging Darth Vader's half dead body to escape. They're like, oh shit.
This guy will be talked about.
We shall share his story in song.
There was also one thing that I had to, I rewatched a couple times, and that's, it's like whenever Mando's fighting the Death Trooper, just how he struggles a shit ton, and then Luke comes in and just wipes the floor. That's one of the first times that we've seen, the actual power of a Jedi in comparison to somebody else that we've been following for a very long time.
Well, yeah, especially with how strong it showed Mando.
Yeah, it's like to us, Mando's pretty strong, and those droids are tough as shit. But compared to a Jedi, they're absolutely nothing. That's the first time we've seen an actual power gap that matters.
I don't know. I wasn't even super impressed with the Dark Troopers. They seem like
no, but that's completely besides the point. That's completely beside the point. Regardless of how they executed how they work or whatever, in comparison to Mando, they were still stupid strong. And then Luke comes in and just hacks them to bits. I'm not talking about the function of the droids. I'm talking about them actually being strong.
Well, that's what I was referring to as well. They didn't come off to me as super strong, droids.
They're
like
punching
they
holes in the doors.
Well, I mean, B2 battle droids could do the exact same thing.
Not really.
Yeah. You go.
They
back
cut through them. They had battle droids that had cutters. You never see any droids punching through walls.
To be fair, we didn't see the Dark Troopers punching through walls either. There was a door.
Okay, smartass.
I am impressed that Mando's visor kept up to that punching.
Dude,
You'd think it would at least crack.
Me? Is his glass
is it Beskar as well?
Clear
Did they make a? Let's see through Beskar.
That was super ridiculous how well it held up.
Yeah, that part kind of bugged me because even with how strong Beskar is, the concussion probably would have knocked him out.
It's true. The helmet kind of didn't move as well.
This is space. You don't understand. They have concussion shit in the helmets. I don't know.
There's anti-gravity in the helmet. It's fine.
That would explain it. It's just floating.
I mean, it was a cool scene nonetheless, but I still feel like, the visor should have at least cracked.
As cool as Luke was, my favorite scene was whenever Mando was fighting, what's his face?
Gideon?
Yeah, Gideon.
That was a dope fight.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering, did Gideon purposely lose to cause drama between him and Bo-Katan, or was it a legitimate win? Because Gideon's always one step ahead.
Well, when's the last
I can
time
see
you
that
heard
being
of a
part of the
Moth
cause.
giving up and letting people win? When's the last time you heard of a Moth not being full of just ridiculous pride?
Well, and we've seen the other imp officers with that suicide thing in their mouth that zapped him to death. You'd think Gideon would have had that too, rather than trying to put a blaster to his face,
Yeah. It's just part of the story.
It's the plot.
It's just part of the plot. Speaking of that fight, though, that Beskar was about to melt. Is that because the Darksaber just burns hotter than most lightsabers, or that's just normal?
I think it's just because of long exposure.
Yeah.
Because whenever Ahsoka was fighting with the chick that had the Beskar spear first, it wasn't glowing, but she also barely made contact with it. There was prolonged exposure.
That's true.
So I think it's just flavor.
Another thing I was thinking about looking at Moff Gideon, his armor, is it Vader's where it's got life support. Like
I was wondering the
we
same
don't
thing.
see other Moffs, or we don't see any Moffs wearing armor like that. They're in standard
We
uniform.
don't really see any other Imperial, anybody other than Darth Vader wearing that type of armor.
So yeah, I mean, I've seen some theories that I thought that found very interesting, and I know Brandon loves theories. Um, but like saying that maybe he was at one point a Jedi and became an Inquisitor himself,
I don't
and
like
that's
that
why
theory.
he's.
I've read that theory. I just don't like
I
it.
don't either, but it does. The armor kind of does match the MO. Is the only reason I even think about it. But then again, it could also just be life support armor. Like maybe in one of his many battles he got injured, and that's his life support.
I get that part, but reading the new Vader run, the Grand Inquisitor was very adamant about building the army of Inquisitors of all the ex-Jedi and making them as strong as possible. So if Moff Gideon was a Jedi in the past, there's just no way the Grand Inquisitor would even allow him to, be anything other than an Inquisitor, because he had the full support of the Emperor and put Darth Vader in charge of the Grand Inquisitor, but the Emperor was pretty adamant about backing the Grand Inquisitor when it came to building forces.
Yeah, I still don't fully get the whole Inquisitor thing because the whole Sith, just to
Well,
me seems.
it's because
It's kind of like how Asajj was part of like the Sith Order without actually being a Sith. Essentially, the Inquisitors were like they were Jedi at one point that got turned into Inquisitors. They were tempted enough to be swayed into hunting the remainder of the Jedi. They were part of an order that was extremely close to Darth Vader. He was over all of the Inquisitors. Grand Inquisitor reported directly to him. So I mean, they were all just under lock and key by Darth Vader. They were just corrupted
all
Jedi.
acolytes and Inquisitors were just basically Sith bounty hunters, like Brandon said, looking for the remainder of the Jedi.
Which I get that. I'm just saying that it seems like in my, from what I've read about the Sith, it just seems like they wouldn't want that kind of risk unless it's like a pride thing, like ha ha ha, we turned the Jedi on themselves.
No, that's
and now they're murdering
exactly
each
what it
other.
is. Like even in some of the Vader comics, Palpatine has like underlings that use lightsabers that are trained in the Force. In the Vader Down series, he takes on 3 of them. So I mean, it's common practice for the Sith just to take up random acolytes. That's part of the rule of 2. Is if you're able to defeat your master, then you're the master. It's like sword logic.
Another thing I was thinking about is how Grogu reacted to R2D2. The first run through, I was like, oh, it's just, oh, cool, a droid, oh. But I'm like, you know what? He was in the Jedi Temple. R2 was always following Anakin around. I almost wonder if there's some sort of like, oh, I remember you, and in kind of the way that R2 responded. Again, first run, I was like, oh, it's just R2's always excited. And it's like, oh, wait, maybe R2 also remembers him, or it's just the fact that he looks similar enough to Yoda that he's like, oh, hey, I know your species. I wonder if they do have some sort of memory of each other as well. Because even the look Luke gives them when they're interacting is kind of like he understands.
I can dig it. I think it's more just like a recognition of species rather than like, hey, I know you. But I mean, at this point, it can go either way. We don't know.
Something I noticed with Boba Fett, when he repainted his armor, the stripes on the left side are red now, where back in Empire it was like a golden yellow. So he kind of changed the color up.
I wonder if that has it's going to have any impact or any kind of significance.
Well, I know based off of Legends, the colors for the Mandalorian, whatever, like the yellow colors represented vengeance, where red represents like loss of a parent or something like that, like kind of respect towards a parent living or dead or someone close to you like that. And so
Where'd you
obviously
read
that's
that?
just browsing it throughout the internet and watching different interviews and things like that, talking about some of the legend books talking about it. Because like white means new life, and blue means like loyalty, and like I can't remember all the colors, but they all have a significant meaning. And again, that's just according to Legends. But knowing Filoni, he's bringing a lot of Legend stuff back into the light, and so it would make sense that, back in Empire, vengeance would make a lot of sense because he was kind of, oh, I need to avenge my father against the Jedi still, and then now he's getting a second light, and he's like, oh, I guess it kind of goes with his character where he is now, switching
From
from
what I
gold to
can
red.
see, his shoulders are still yellow.
Yeah, his shoulders are still yellow. Obviously, we don't have
Wait,
any
so
explanation.
what's switched to red then?
The on his helmet, the lines kind of on the left side by the earpiece.
Oh. I mean, in like pre-Mandalorian, they were pretty much faded, so you couldn't really tell much.
I can pull an image for you real quick. There's where
And
he's
I'm
talking
looking
to.
at a comparison between the two right now. Like Empire, it's just still kind of green, or just mostly faded, so it looks like metal. And then fresh painted, it's yellow.
Well, I can pull you a picture that I was looking at where it's a side view where he's talking to Vader. Again, it's all legends, so it's just speculation. But
Well,
it,
legends can be important.
that's the thing is we don't know what they're going to be adding, so it does have some basis to a certain degree. Like salt of grain, you got to take it with. Did I say a salt of grain?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, I can see the helmet. I'm looking at one when he's on Jabba's skiff, and it's red.
Yeah, so it's red now, and back then it was like a gold.
Well, from what I'm reading online, those lines, the yellow ones anyways, they represented his notable Jedi kills. It's just legends, obviously. But he would have had way too many.
Also, continuity is something that we try and we put in way too much. We give them way too much credit for being continuous in their shit. Because I'm looking at two separate pictures. One's from Empire, the other's from Jedi, where the lines are yellow and then the lines are red.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so they could have meaning. They could have very little meaning. Either way, it's. I mean, I guess it's something that could have some merit, but
Yeah, I'm looking at one of the toys right now, and it's yellow. Oh yeah, I see what you're talking about. The red and
Mhm.
yeah, it's interesting. So maybe it's just so faded by the later episodes that it just looks more yellow, like the
It's
red
possible.
pigment slowly disappearing because it kind of has an orange tint to it. It makes it look kind of gold.
Yeah, they kind of like it's kind of like a faded or gradual color change in the stripes. I'm looking at a shot of the helmet. It goes from yellow to orange to red. I kind of
Well,
like how at the end of the episode where Din was saying goodbye to Grogu, they kind of did an homage to Jedi, where Vader was taking off his
Yeah, with
helmet.
Vader and Luke.
Yeah, to say goodbye to his son and for him to see him as his father.
oh
Din
yeah,
kind of did the same thing to Grogu.
I didn't even think about that.
That's a pretty cool. I picked up on the third watch. It's like that seems familiar.
Yeah.
You think like that was the Mandalorian finale, or you think we're getting more Mando?
Oh, we're definitely getting more Mando.
They've confirmed.
Oh, it's been confirmed.
Yeah.
Well, for the most part, like there's one of the guys working on it. He's like, I don't speak for Disney, but they are two separate things, and there's gonna be more. He's like, but I don't speak for Disney, so take that for what it is.
I don't think it's gonna be the
Okay.
same Grogu story arc. I think it's ultimately gonna turn.
Well, no,
into
like
the
that
battle,
story arc's
like
done.
The new battle of Mandalore.
Yeah, we
They
gotta
just
see.
left that open with Bo-Katan
Yeah,
and Din.
yeah. They gotta establish that. Like, is he's going to become the leader, or is she going to beat him in combat, or what's the deal? Like because she's gonna want that. So yeah, they left some open. Yeah. And Gideon's like, so you're just gonna kill him now or what?
But again, it goes back to
He's
the
like, what?
continuity that Brandon's talking about. Like in Clone Wars, she took it out of Sabine's hands when Sabine was giving it to her. But
No,
couldn't
so
take
that's
it from
something
Din.
that I think was done on purpose, because at the time that Mandalore fell, she would have been the leader. So I think that she takes some blame for for Mandalore falling because she didn't win the Darksaber in combat. She doesn't think that she was like a worthy leader at that point. So now she has to get it the right way.
So you're talking about
'Cause
at the end of Clone Wars?
that's how it's always been. Even in Clone Wars, whenever Maul fought fuck, what's his name? Pre Vizsla. Whenever Maul fought Pre Vizsla, he beat him in combat to become the ruler of Mandalore. And Rebels, once Sabine has it, she doesn't want to be the ruler, so she gives it to somebody in her family. It's like, yo, Bo-Katan, take this, lead Mandalore. And she takes it, and then Mandalore falls. So I think Bo-Katan just wants to do it right this time, rather than be responsible for the fall of Mandalore again.
That would track because Moff Gideon did say that the power doesn't come from the Darksaber; it comes from the story of how
exactly.
She got it. Okay, that would track.
Yeah, that's the point I was just going to make. And also, I can see her wanting to for sure do it the right way, because since she would have been the leader at the time, a lot of the scattered Mandalorian clans out there would blame her for the fall most likely. And so to establish that dominance of I am the leader, just having it handed to her, she has to have that story of, earning it in combat. Like,
and say,
I am
even
worthy.
Going to that, yeah, I think that's something they addressed in Rebels as well. It's just the fact that they had to rally all the scattered clans of Mandalore, just to make sure that they were not divided anymore. So I think that's also something that she failed on, was uniting Mandalore, because she didn't have the story.
Well, obviously that's something, because it fell pretty soon after Rebels. So that's where I ultimately think Mandalorian is going to head, is a Mandalore story arc.
Yeah. Another thing I thought was a little off is like when Luke defeated all the Dark Troopers and he's sitting there at the blast door, and Mando's like, "Hey, open it," and they're like, "Are you kidding me? That's crazy." It's like, it's a Jedi. I don't know why you guys are necessarily afraid of him. Like, you guys aren't his enemy,
Well, the only
especially
person that
since
said that was Finnick, and she's a rogue bounty hunter.
Well,
And is
Jedi are
criminal
also
in the eyes of
myth.
Jedi. Yeah, it's true. They also are myth, because there's not a lot of evidence.
They don't know a lot about Jedi, so whenever they just show their face, like you don't know what they're about.
but Bo-Katan
Mando's
did.
obviously on board, but
Bo-Katan
She was
also
under the
seemed
impression that all
hesitant.
the Jedi were gone.
Bo-Katan also knows that the Jedi were responsible for the
That's
ongoing
true.
war that ultimately ruined Mandalore.
That's true. Yeah, she would have blamed them for that, because that assault with where Ahsoka was the 501st was ultimately how the Empire started that, because they went there and they never left. So that's ultimately, so I can see her putting that blame. Although she still had a good relationship with Ahsoka, because she sent him there and said say Bo-Katan sent you. So, but then again, Ahsoka wasn't a Jedi at that point, so I guess that's to be added. I did think it was interesting how Ahsoka, when he's like, he needs a Jedi, and she never once brought up, "Oh, I'm actually not a Jedi anymore." Like when she was trying to say, "Go find another Jedi." I'm surprised she didn't say, "I'm actually not a Jedi. I left the Order." So does that mean she's starting to consider herself a Jedi again? I know Filoni in an interview recently said that she is basically a Jedi Master at this point.
So there's
Skill lover, sure, but I think it's just more or less like an understanding, like without context, which Din obviously does not have. You wouldn't really understand what institutes a Jedi, or what just institutes a Force builder. Like I think it just would have been talking to a brick wall at that point, or having to explain the whole story, rather than just letting him believe what he believes, and then telling him he has to go elsewhere. Because she knows that she's not qualified. She knows that she's not a Jedi, and she knows that she couldn't have trained Grogu because of what her feelings towards like Anakin, yeah, like all of that shit.
There are theories that Luke Skywalker had been in contact with Ahsoka to start a new Jedi Order, because we obviously know that he tries to do that. And there's a theory that before the Knights of Ren and Kylo destroyed that new order, that Ahsoka Tano was part of the masters of that new order.
I don't think so, because she's obviously still just looking for Ezra.
But at that point, she might have found him, and he might have also been part of the Order.
I think Ahsoka's just... I don't know. I guess we'll see during the Ahsoka show where her story's going.
True,
That,
true.
that obviously is gonna, in my opinion, is gonna be of her looking for Ezra and Thrawn, since they obviously didn't go too deep into her looking for Thrawn in the Mando. They just name dropped. But you can't mention Thrawn without talking Ezra, especially the way it
Yeah.
ended in Rebels.
Well, I also wonder if, because obviously the Jedi, like Ben destroys the Order, more or less. So where would, like, if Ahsoka was part of it, that wouldn't have happened. And two, where's Grogu through all this? So does Grogu eventually leave, go with Mando, and do they join up with Ahsoka later on down the road? Like, I wonder where they're going to go with it, because everyone's going to be pissed if Grogu's murdered by, Ben.
Didn't Luke say that he got everyone killed?
I
think
don't
so.
The reason that
remember.
everyone that he was training got killed?
That's what I'm saying.
'Cause I
Like,
could have
if
swore he
Grogu
mentioned
was there,
about
he's dead.
something about Ben destroying the temple and killing everybody.
I think he just confirmed that Ben destroyed the temple, because in like the Rise of Kylo Ren in that little comic series, there's still some survivors that are chasing him. So people do survive that attack. It's not just like everybody's instantly
But
killed.
people obviously died because of that.
Well, yeah.
And the Knights. So Ahsoka and Grogu could have definitely been part of the people that died.
Again,
Or
I
did
don't
they
think
have another temple?
I don't think Ahsoka's part of that at all.
It's just a theory. It's a pretty cool theory, and it could track, and it makes sense. Because we clearly
So I
don't know
wonder-
where her story goes.
But with Luke's Jedi Order, I wonder if there was other temples too. So he destroyed this one, but was there another one somewhere else that had other trainees being trained by another master? Like Cal, for instance, or even Ezra.
Well, there's tons
Or
of
another
temples,
remnant.
but in Fallen Order, Cal basically teaches himself.
And Cal kind of also just says "fuck it" to all that. He's kind of all about himself.
That do be true.
Like he wants all the younglings in that holocron to decide for themselves, or to not be outed, I guess. So I don't think he would have joined the Jedi Order either.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think you're more right than wrong though on that.
I don't know. This episode definitely just leaves up a lot to be answered.
There's a ton. Like, one of the things I want answered is, like, it's at the beginning of the episode where they invade the ship that the scientist is on, and that the officer, or the pilot that had the blaster to his head, he's talking to, what's her name? Cara Dune. He says it was a small price to pay to rid the galaxy of terrorism, and then she got all mad and shot him in the face, and then Din turned around and, like, looked at her like, what the hell was that? I think there's something there.
I also, going off of that, I liked the detail that they left that later on, when they're talking to the scientist guy, he has a burn mark on his ear, like later on. Like when they're trying to figure out how to infiltrate the light cruiser, he still has this, like, black burns on his ear, which I was like, oh, they could have easily just, no one would have noticed had that not been there, but that's a really good little detail they left in. But I just like those little details they add into it. And from what I understand, there's a lot of Easter eggs people are starting to find that I haven't. I'm like, oh, I gotta watch it again. Gotta find those Easter eggs. That's why I love Filoni, though.
He just needs to take over Star Wars.
Oh, absolutely.
So does Boba come back and pick Fennec up?
And he had to have, because she was with him when he went and took over. At the end
Jabba's
credit scene.
palace.
No, that's true, yeah.
So yeah, he would have come back for her. I like, though, like it showed his skills as a pilot when he's like fleeing the like after they crash land inside the ship, and he's starting to fly away, and he just turns his cannon around, bam, 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 and the TIE fighters are destroyed like instantly, like nothing. Just shows his skill as a a fighter pilot.
I just like how this is actually giving us a reason to think that Boba Fett's a badass. Because otherwise he's just a bounty hunter that did nothing.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're
although-
definitely- yeah, I agree. They're definitely making you badass now.
Although his fight with that other Mandalorian, that's Bo-Katan, I felt was a little silly. Like when he shoots the grappling hook around her arm, and like she kind of pulls him. I'm like, come on. Like I get she's a Mandalorian and they're super tough, but come on.
That wasn't
It-
Bo-Katan.
no, her
Oh,
little
okay.
her sidekick.
I don't like Bo-Katan.
I don't like her in this. She's really kind of annoying.
Bitch.
Bo-Katan's just... I like her character, but she's just kind of a hypocrite.
Yeah. She has a lot of potential though. Hopefully next season they can make her character a lot better. I mean, we really haven't had a lot of her. We haven't seen a lot of how she actually is. We've seen her with Mandalorian. I mean, she's in a tough spot, so it's very easy that in the next season where they flesh out her character more with, with her being more in the story, we might actually be like, okay, all right, kind of like, how they redeemed Boba Fett in a lot of ways. It's like, okay, maybe they'll do something similar for her.
Well, I don't know. She's. We all know why she's kind of cold towards everyone because of her sister. And after that, she kind of just doesn't care about relations. So I don't know if
Do
they're
we
gonna have any...
do we know what happened to her sister?
Well, she died.
Yeah, she got
Yeah,
murdered.
she was
Did she?
murdered. Yeah.
Yeah,
Stabbed
Maul-
right in
Maul
front
Oh
of
killed
no
her.
no no. Sorry, I'm thinking of what's her face? Shoot. So we're talking about the old leader, Obi-Wan's girlfriend, right?
Satine.
Yeah.
So the other one that gave her the dark saber, what's her face?
Sabine.
Sabine, yeah.
Yeah,
What happened to
Satine
her
and
is what I mean.
Sabine
went with
is looking
Ahsoka.
for Ezra with Ahsoka, yeah.
But they're not together now, so I wonder where she is.
Oh. She could be continuing to look for Ezra
From-
while Ahsoka looks
So they're
for
probably
Ezra.
just checking different parts of the galaxy and shit. I don't know.
That's true.
Spread the forces.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I hope they bring her into the Ahsoka one for sure.
Oh, I hope.
They most definitely will.
There's just no way they can do an Ahsoka show, in my opinion, without adding 2 or 3 Rebels characters. Because again, you can't have
Yeah.
Thrawn without Ezra and vice versa. And Sabine was with Ahsoka.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really care that Sabine was like a graffiti artist. I thought that was kind of a silly detail, but otherwise, I really liked her character.
And it's just kind of an excuse to give the rebellion a symbol. Because she'd basically created
Yeah.
it.
It's true. She tagged everything.
Yeah, and it was going with the graffiti thing. I thought it was kind of cool. That one planet where he goes, like it's dark and it's the Fight Club. He's in there, like all the graffiti on the walls. I thought it was pretty cool. I was watching the behind-the-scenes stuff where they actually had one of their prop designers who does a lot of graffiti on the side, like came in there. And, well, I don't know if he does on the side, but he has a background in it, and he like did all the graffiti on all the walls. I'm like, that's pretty freaking cool.
In Mando?
That's pretty tight. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
Mando.
made a comment like why all the graffiti was so low to the ground. It's just because Jawas can't reach the taller stuff.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, freaking hilarious.
So, kind of like a fun fact, did you guys know that Mark Hamill was Luke Skywalker in Mando?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
That
did
was
the
really
same
cool.
thing they did to yeah, the de-aging thing they did. Yeah.
I was trying to remember the name of Bo-Katan's sidekick, and I went on IMDb and saw Mark Hamill was listed in the cast. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. One thing I wonder though is Luke never really had formal lightsaber training, so I wonder if he just read about it and practiced or
So that's that's where a bunch of the
YouTube.
no, that's where a bunch of the comics come in. There's actually a large run in the comics where he's formally trained by a stormtrooper.
Interesting.
Plus, he spends like I think he spends a couple years on Dagobah afterwards, and
So he's just staff
Yoda
trained
trains him.
by a stormtrooper?
I haven't read it yet, but it's in part of like the Star Wars run where he gets trained how to use a lightsaber by a stormtrooper.
So what's the stormtrooper's background? Just because like
I
those.
Again, I haven't read
Yeah.
it. I don't really know.
So we all know
I'm gonna have
stormtroopers
to
are
find
shite at combat. You sure it wasn't like an old clone trooper?
As a stormtrooper.
I mean, some of them were trained with those bow staff thingies, or not bow staffs. The zappy zaps.
What is that?
Well, I guess if you look at Jedi Fallen Order, the scout troopers that you have to melee with, I mean, some of those are like, especially on the harder modes, like they have some skill. So it makes sense that some of them would be trained really well, especially if they're tasked with hunting down Jedi.
I suppose that's true. And is that run Legends now, or is it still canon?
No, it's canon. His name is Sergeant Creel. Designated Agent 4241.
That sounds familiar.
Agent. So Agent suggests that he's more than just a standard stormtrooper.
He was an undercover stormtrooper and Scar Trooper of the Galactic Empire, 501st Legion.
Because yeah, it wouldn't be Agent, number. It would
Yeah,
be
he-
2K.
He trained Luke. Looks like trained him on Narshada.
So then, who trained Rey?
So is it the
That's
same?
what that whole montage at the beginning of Episode 9 is. They're training with fucking Leia.
Is it the same Creel from Clone Wars, or is that someone else?
That's what I was thinking too, because I remember that name.
It might be.
He's kind of like that Jedi general that went rogue on that one planet, and they ended up stopping.
Oh yeah,
him.
no. Absolutely not that guy. This dude's a human.
Okay. Not a humanoid. Wikipedia, he resembles a clone trooper.
You resemble a clone trooper.
It's okay.
I love that part though. Bo-Katan's like, "You're a clone. I've heard your voice 1,000 times. This may be the last time you hear it." I was like,
So is that the
Yeah.
only reason that she doesn't accept him as a Mandalorian? Because Din is a
I mean-
foundling, Boba's a foundling, but Boba's a clone. Is that the reason?
Again, Mandalorian's a way of life, and Boba never really lived it.
That's true.